So hi, my name is Rod Hollenbeek. I'm a certified arborist and master gardener. Since I was a kid, I've been interested in the variation in trees, leaves, branches, flowers, fruits, and every time I found a tree I didn't know, I took a look, I did research and found out what it was so I could identify it. I inventoried about 25,000 trees in my time, and I also did 3 years of landscape maintenance estimates where I had to be able to identify the trees.
Hello, my name is Wendy Hansen-Mazet. I work with the University of Nevada Extension. I am the Extension Plant Diagnostician. I am also a Quell Certified Professional and a Certified Arborist. Today we are going to be looking at deciduous trees. My angle will be IPM, Integrated Pest Management, and looking at the trees from a homeowner and arborist perspective for structure and possible pest issues and structural issues.
One of the favorite landscape trees here in Reno in northern Nevada is the beech tree. It's European beech is a very popular tree here. People like it because it has gray bark and it's fairly smooth bark. How do you know it's a beech though? Well, it's easy money because if you look right here, you will see 2 leaf buds from next year. And what they are, they're long and thin. And they are there in late summer all through winter until they open. And so that's a dead giveaway when there are no leaves. This one doesn't look like a regular beech. What's going on? This is called a tricolor beech, and I'm going to turn the leaf around a little bit. You can see that the leaf has more than one color. It has green on the inside, and it's fall, so it's like starting to go down, so it looks sort of brown. Also has white. The reason this is called a tricolor beech, which is Faga sylvatica tricolor, is because on the outside of the thing, it has 3 colors. It has white, green, and a like bright pink. In the summer, early summer and late spring, this tree is the only tree that looks pink. And then the color fades later on. So that is a way to determine it, as well as I said, the bark.
Right now we're looking at a tricolor beech. And one of the things to look at this tree is it has beautiful structure, it's in a lawn setting, and one of the great things is they put mulch around it. Preferably, we'd like to see the mulch go out to the drip line, which is the furthest point of the outward branches. One of the things to take note of on this deciduous tree is it is grafted. There's actually 2 different trees. As we look at the trunk, you're going to see that there's scarring, and many people may think this is a wound or it may be a scar from twine or something left on the tree. It's actually where the graft was done. There's one type of beech on the root system and another type up top, and that's what gives you the beautiful tricolored nature of this tree.
Celtis occidentalis. It's a drought-tolerant tree, so it works well in Reno. It's one of 3 hackberries that grow here in Reno. Well, how do we know it's a hackberry? Well, an identification clue can be seen on the leaf. The leaf has an uneven base. Now, linden trees and elm trees also have uneven bases, but this has a smooth leaf. Hackberries can be distinguished from other trees because their fall color is kind of a pale yellow or dull yellow color. How do we know that it's a common hackberry? The other 2 hackberries, Chinese hackberry, native to, well, China, and western hackberry, native to the western US, and this hackberry, common hackberry, native to the eastern US, all look very similar. The differences are in the shape of the tree, the shape of the leaves, and the berries. By the way, the berries are single berries, and they are about between 1.25 inches wide. And you can tell the three species apart by the color of the berries. Now, if you don't have berries, to tell you the truth, to be honest, I have trouble differentiating the three species.
Unlike many of the other deciduous trees we've looked at today, this is a tree that does have some issues. While it is extremely adaptable to Nevada, it does have some characteristics that may be undesirable to homeowners. For one, this tree can deal with drought conditions and moist conditions, but in its structure it goes through what we call the gangly teenage years, and it will be several years as it develops a good canopy. It also does have an insect issue that is very common but doesn't injure the tree's structural integrity. It is called a Hackberry nipple gall, which is actually an aerified mite that affects the leaves. It does not injure the tree, but it can be very disconcerting when you see your leaves with what looks like warts on them. And this is considered the back of the leaf. The front will look like a divot, and actually in this leaf we have a beneficial ladybug, although she won't help us with the aerified mite. As an arborist, you may notice that this tree has a double leader. So if you didn't catch this early on, you won't want to prune this out. This is part of this tree going through the teenage years. Eventually, the tree will have a beautiful rounded form, but it may take, honestly, another 20 years to develop. They are strong branch structured and will need some training early on, but otherwise will make do with what they have. Another consideration on the hackberry that is important to know is they do sucker from the root system, so those will need to be maintained each year, and a homeowner or arborist should be making clean cuts at the base of the tree. Another thing to consider with the common hackberry is its fall color. While it does very well in the summer, the fall color can be somewhat lackluster in what you can see behind me. We have yellow leaves, and then they go quickly to brown. So some of your fall color may only last for a week or two.
So this next tree is called Tulip poplar or tulip tree. It's Liriodendron tulipifera, and it's very common in the eastern half of the U.S. And in fact, when the pioneers crossed Cumberland Gap in the late 1700s and early 1800s, this was the tallest tree that they saw east of the Mississippi, up to 190 feet tall. However, this was not to be. There are no primeval stands left because this is such great lumber. It's marketed as yellow poplar. Here's how you identify it. I'm going to turn this leaf so you can see it full frontal. And this leaf is a dead ringer for this tree. You know you have this tree. So that's an easy identification tool. Another easy identification tool is at this time of year, this tree has, which I describe as duckbill bud. It's the only tree that has a bud like this. Another interesting feature, particularly in fall, is, and you can see it with this tree, is that you can identify this at 55 miles an hour because the tree has green, yellow, and brown leaves at the same time on the tree, different places in the tree. In the late spring or early summer, around June, would have flowers that look like tulips, and that's why this is called a tulip tree. When the fruits form, they're sort of shaped like a bullet. When they open during the winter, they may stay on all winter, but if they open, it's like they open like this. It's like they open from a point. That's another identification method during the winter. And because we have 6 months of winter here and no leaves on all but about 10 of the broadleaf trees, that's a great help.
Standing back and looking at this tulip tree, we can see that it's relatively young to the landscape. This one's been planted a little over 15 years, and in general it might be about 25 years old. This is a young tree technically. So what we're looking at is, as an arborist, we're not doing pruning or any training. It has good structure. Things to consider as far as the tulip tree is that it is susceptible to late frosts and early frosts. So you will see burning on these leaves. You can also see damage from salt if you live in a high boron area or a dry environment. This tree does get large, reaching over 40 to 50 feet, and has limited pest problems. So it's ideal for the landscape when you're looking for a shade tree with beautiful fall color and those tulip flowers in late spring, early summer.
This tree is Aesculus hippocastinum. It's a native of Europe, and it's one of the most popular park trees there. And the reason is because of its shape. There are about six species of Aesculus that grow here. They're also called buckeyes. They grow here in northern Nevada, and they can be differentiated by the shape of the fruit and by the size of the leaf. Horse chestnuts or buckeyes have an unusual feature in that their leaves are not only compound but opposite. And the compound is, they call it palmate, which is basically hand-shaped. And it has 5 leaflets on it. Okay. It also, I got to point out a bud for next year. And among trees that grow here, horse chestnuts have about the biggest bud of any of the trees. But anyway, so those are good identifying features. I chose this particular plant or this particular thing, but as you see, it's got spines around the outside so that I suppose that varmints won't eat them. And it splits open to reveal a so-called chestnut. Unfortunately, you're not going to roast these on an open fire because they're fairly toxic. Horse chestnut, beautiful shape, different fall color. This has yellow fall color, has not turned yet.
So here we're looking at a common horse chestnut, and one of the very unique things about the horse chestnut is the leaf. The other identifiable characteristic of a horse chestnut will actually make you pull over your car and look, because in midsummer, this tree will bloom gorgeous white flowers in the case of the common horse chestnut. Now, one of the things that we have to look at is structural. And with this tree, it requires little pruning if it started off well, but this is a large tree. And what we need to look at is its root system when it's put in urban environments. So going down to the base of this tree, we're going to see a common problem that occurs with trees that are put in locations where they get surface water or irrigation from turf grass. We can see this tree has been here for many years, and the roots are up at the surface, and that happens commonly in our area because of the main water source being turf irrigation, which we're only watering to about 6 to maybe 8 inches deep. And this tree is showing damage from lawn mowers, basically scalping the root system. The other thing we can see in the background is this root system is so large that the decorative concrete border they placed it in is breaking and heaving. With large trees, this is something to consider. You never want to put it near foundations, homes, or concrete patios because the standard nature of the root system is to go wide and broad. As far as integrated pest management and insect issues, fortunately, there are very few. In some cases, you may see some leaf damage from leaf hoppers, and in rare cases, whiteflies. Otherwise, it's a low-maintenance tree, beautiful in our environment. One of the things that should be considered if this tree is put in a commercial landscape is the fruit and the large nuts that will drop. That can be a hazard when it comes to pedestrians and falls and slips, and should be considered before this tree is put into the scope of the landscape.